Yes. Amending Chapter 109 of the Municipal Code, changing the designation of the appropriate authority.
Move the ordinance be taken up for second and final reading. Second.
An ordinance amending Chapter 109 entitled Public Safety, Department of, by the Township Committee, the Township of Union, County of Union, State of New Jersey.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard on this ordinance?
Dave Dougherty, President of PBA, Clinton, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Concerning the ordinance itself, I found some confusing issues in the ordinance, and one of them is a form of, who's going to control the discipline or impose the discipline. In one respect in the ordinance, it says the chief is going to be responsible for that. In another, earlier in the ordinance, it mentions that the administrator or the appropriate authority is going to be responsible for that. I'd like to get some clarification.
Yeah.
Dan, Mr. Antonelli.
He's section, excuse me. The ordinance is more than one line, okay? The ordinance is more than one line. And I'm sorry, which section are you referring to?
He said on discipline.
All right, Section 2, Chapter 109, 4, A, B, and C, where it's deleted and then it's restated on the bottom, Section 3, Chapter 109-4, A, B, and C. The appropriate authority under letter B, or his or her designee shall sit as hearing officer for the township on any complaint against a permanent or probationary police officer.
Okay. And your question,
Question is, towards the end of the ordinance, just give me a second, find it. It's under where the chief's duties, I'm still trying to find it here, but it says the chief is responsible for the discipline. Chief, it's under Section 7. B, chief of police shall, among other duties, administer and enforce rules and regulations.
right.
Special
okay.
emergency, so
All right,
who's in charge of discipline?
And I will answer that, okay. The chief is the one who enforces the rules and regulations and administers the discipline. The appropriate authority is the one that can establish.
I don't know what that means, if you can explain that to me.
Establishes and reviews the operations of the police force, issues rules and regulations for the police force. So, the chief is the one who actually will issue
Let me make it more simple, and who's going to conduct the hearings for disciplinary charge against a police officer?
Mr. Bowden?
Answer the question.
Mayor, if I can, I believe the ordinance is self-explanatory in that it says the appropriate authority or his or her designee shall sit as the hearing officer.
Okay, so that means the appropriate authority, which is going to be Frank Bradley, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Dougherty.
Another question I have is, last meeting, one of the committee members, I think it was Mr. Capidy, stated that the committee is not here 24/7, therefore it'd be more fitting to relinquish the appropriate authority to Frank Bradley. I understand that the township committee is a part-time position, but as far as I know, Mr. Bradley doesn't work 24/7 either. And will his hours be changing to 24/7, or how's that going to be taken care of?
He is on call 24/7.
24/7, okay. When the ordinance is finally enacted, if you vote positively for it, will the hours be changing to 24/7 or 7 days a week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When the ordinance is finally enacted, if you vote positively for it, will the hours be changing to 7 days a week? 7 days a week, okay. It's my understanding that the committee will have a diminished level of responsibility because you're turning over, relinquishing that responsibility of appropriate authority to the administrator. And are you planning on cutting your compensation as well because you're not going to be performing all the duties that you used to before?
No.
Your compensation as a committee, what you're paid for by the taxpayers.
Okay, and again, we are the oversight of this. Mr. Bradley still reports to us
So then what is the purpose?
that he is there to administer our rules and regulations on a daily basis.
Isn't that the way it is now?
Yes, we are making him the person because we are having issues with this. We are appointing
What kind
him
of
the
issues? That's what I'm-
appropriate authority because we cannot be there on a day-to-day to do that.
In this day and age with technology, you can't be contacted? Cell phones, whatever, email?
Mayor, if I may just comment quickly, the statute that allows you to designate an appropriate authority is self-executing. So to that extent, you can designate the administrator as the appropriate authority. No reason needs to be given or explanation as to naming the township administrator or someone else for that matter. Statute also discusses specifically the duties and responsibilities of the chief of police as well. So again, the statute is self-executing. You are the appropriate authority. With this ordinance on a second reading, if you approve it, changes that appropriate authority to you, from you to the administrator.
This decision is confusing to me why we're acting so quickly or why the committee's acting so quickly. But I know you're aware because we sent you a letter, our attorney did, regarding the Renahan report and the questionable versions of it. And I know you have that as well, and I want to know what was done, if anything, about that.
Mayor, again, if I could just comment on, I'm not sure if that matter is under investigation or not, but there are two apparently copies of the report, one with some handwritten changes as well as a final report. But as I said previously, and I assure you now, the conclusions of both reports are the same.
Well, just the fact that there's only two versions, does that mean there's not three or four? That's why we asked for an investigation.
There are no more than...
I'm not sure if the matter is under investigation or not.
Mayor, you said there are no other reports?
I do know
So
the
does that
draft
mean
copy.
investigation was done?
The draft copy was not a final copy, obviously.
Was that a draft copy with the handwriting on it?
Sorry, I'm not sure. I'm not the one handling any investigation. You know, I don't get involved.
Who is? That's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure at this point if it's
Is
under
somebody else in the
investigation or
committee?
not.
Do they know?
No.
So I take that as there is no investigation. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, there's no investigation. Thank you. So the taxpayers basically spent $9,000 or $12,000, whatever this was. Now we have two versions of it. Well, we're going to disregard the fact that there were two versions, maybe more, not have an investigation, and then act on a recommendation in that report. Maybe you should just sit down up here.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could just comment, to the extent that the ordinance before you tonight can or cannot be based, or does not have to be based upon the conclusions in the report. Again, it's a self-executing statute. You don't really need to give a reason as to why you're designating the township administrator as the appropriate authority, and I don't know that anyone has ever said that that was the basis for their decision. But again, I want to assure everyone that the reports both have the same conclusions.
Right. The question is the validity of the report. It's nobody's really explained to the residents, the people who've actually paid for it, what the story is with it. I think you're obligated to do that. Last meeting, Mary, you made a mention that the recommendation was from an attorney to adopt this appropriate authority or change this ordinance. Which attorney? Which attorney made that recommendation?
Our Labor Council.
Labor Council? So was it Mr. Antonelli? No. Is it Labor Council here tonight?
I don't think is he here anymore?
No.
No? Mr. Florio stated in the last meeting there would be some consequences for us if we made public or went public against the committee's decisions. I was curious what you meant by that. May not be the exact wording, but...
I don't think it was. Would you say that again?
You said we're going to suffer some consequences. There could be some consequences.
What I said is that if you continue to come up and some of your statements are what we feel inaccurate, you're going to be responded to.
Okay.
Responded to means we will answer here and come up with names, numbers, and figures.
But you used the word consequences.
Doesn't mean if I use the word consequence, I'm sorry, but don't put some. That's what you continue to do. You play these things on your membership. What consequence would I do?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
What I said was, and I said it very clearly, I would answer you, or this committee will answer you if you say things that are inaccurate. That's all. No consequence, just stating the facts to the public so the public gets...
Okay, well, I'm trying to get some facts, and I can't get them right now.
You're hearing what you just said what I said. I'm telling you what I said.
I'm trying to find out what's up with this ordinance as far as, especially the Renahan report, because it specifically mentions the changes, and nobody knows. Nobody knows why there's two versions. Maybe there's more. There's no investigation support.
I read the report, and I saw about...
Which one did you read, the first or the second?
I read both.
Okay.
And I saw about 15 to 20 notations on it. And I'd say almost all of them, maybe except for one or two, were things that I would do on reports. I'm sure anybody in kind of business was when you read a report, you make notes on it. Most of them were questions. Why is this way? Why is it that way? That kind of things. Was there a couple of things that may have been changed? But the point is that, as Mr. Antonelli said, the conclusions were the same no matter where you came from.
Well, that may be the case as far as the appropriate authority, but there are some other things in this report that quite honestly, looks like they were manipulated to favor the township administrator and to say that the chief wasn't capable of running the department. And if there's, I don't know whose handwriting this is, but I think we should really try to find out.
Well, let me ask you a question. Answer me honestly. About 2 months ago, wasn't there some rumor going around that the PBA was going to file a no-confidence vote on the chief?
No, that's not true.
All right, well, that's what we heard. So.
Well, you probably heard it from Mr. Bradley because...
I want the public to hear that. So
that's fine.
That's what we heard.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have...
2 months ago, you weren't in favor.
We have over 100 members, and everybody has their own opinion. It may have been mentioned, but it wasn't anything from the board.
We understand that, 2 months ago, when it was in your favor, you were against the chief. Now, you're with the chief. Okay. That's all right.
Our position, we're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on here. I mean, we've been looking at the top ranks of the police department, and there's been problems.
Okay.
There's no question about it. But what we're really seeing is the fact of how Mr. Bradley's trying to interject, and this is just another avenue for him to take control of the police department. I mean, it doesn't make sense to us, especially based on a report that's got this much handwriting on a draft. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how you could act so hastily without getting to the bottom of what happens in this report.
And again, it's not hastily, I think, Mr. Antonelli.
Well, it's not hastily?
No, we have been talking about this. We have been talking about this issue for well over a year.
How long?
Well over a year.
A year?
Yes.
When did this report get released to the committee? The Renahan report?
To the committee in full in April?
It's dated September of 06.
Yes, and it went to the commissioner.
That's over a year ago.
It went to the commissioner.
To who?
It went to the police
Police commissioner?